Hi, I'm Tory Bowman. If you recently experienced a spinal cord injury or you have a disability, you might not have active living, sports, and recreation on your mind, but the reality is recreation might be more beneficial than you realize. From managing stress to improving your physical wellness, and even feeling connected in your community, recreation is a powerful act, and not to mention fun. We understand there may be some challenges to finding accessible recreation, but that's why we're here. On this episode of Underestimated, presented by Oatley Vigmond Personal Injury Lawyers and brought to you by Spinal Cord Injury Ontario, we're talking about accessible recreation. I meet with Megan Grinnell to learn about the meaningful recreation opportunities and experiences available for people with disabilities within the City of Barrie. Paralympian Rod Crane visits us in studio to talk about his journey and how he found the local sledge hockey club in Elmvale. And he's hand cycling across Canada to show that accessible recreation is possible for everyone. We catch up with Kevin Mills to chat about his adventure. Providing meaningful recreation opportunities is important for all people. Megan Grinnell is a recreation programmer of inclusion services with the City of Barrie. Welcome, Megan. So to start, can you tell us about yourself and what you do with the City of Barrie?
Absolutely. So I work in the inclusion services line of business with the City of Barrie. Our aim is to provide meaningful recreational opportunities for those with exceptionalities, unique needs, disabilities, or accessibility needs within our community and surrounding area. So I work in that line of business to specifically make sure our programs and our facilities cater to all of those individuals. Outside of that, I've worked as a registered nurse within the community and acute care services and use that to guide my practice to ensure that all of our programs are able to meet those goals for all of our individuals in our community.
So for people who might not be familiar, can you give us a sense of the kinds of inclusion or inclusive recreation opportunities that you provide?
Absolutely. So we strive to work with our mainstream lines of businesses like aquatics, community programs, skate, sport, etc., to provide integrated opportunities where we either introduce program modifications, additional support to ensure that members of our community can participate along with their siblings, their friends, their loved ones. We also create adapted programming where we can have low ratioed, sensory aware, modifiable, adaptable programs and environments specifically catered to individuals seeking our services. We also provide person-centered planning, registration process services, as well as building orientations to make sure that everybody is welcomed when they enter our facilities and can enjoy the recreation and fun that's to be had.
That's great. What's person-centered programming, just in a nutshell?
It's working with all of our participants and their families on an individual basis to really hone in on why they want to access a specific program, what their goals are when they're attending and participating, so that we can best meet their needs every time that they come.
And sensory aware, for those who may not be aware, what does that look like?
A sensory aware environment can be beneficial, especially for those who might be experiencing cognitive deficits or challenges, who are very sensitive to environmental stimuli. So a sensory aware environment seeks to reduce those sensory stimulations, whether that's auditory, visual, even tactile. We again, through person-centered planning, can identify what those needs might be, so that we can either pull things out of an environment or introduce pieces of equipment or resources into the environment so that those individuals can experience it in a way that's going to be meaningful and impactful for them.
Great. So from your perspective, what are the biggest barriers you see when it comes to accessible recreation?
I think it's always a buzzword, and that could be funding or financial barriers and access to those financial assistance programs can be really challenging when you You look at individuals who say might come from a lower socioeconomic community within Barrie or the surrounding area. Somebody who might be able-bodied coming from that low economic area. And the City of Barrie does have a program called Rec Access, where we work with families in those lower income neighborhoods to provide subsidization for our kind of base program costs. But then, you know, when you look at somebody who's coming from that same community who might have exceptional or unique needs, disabilities, or just additional accessibility requirements, and the costs just elevate very, very quickly. You know, so they might need just subsidy to attend that program. But then they are also experiencing maybe additional transportation requirements to get to the building and to get into the building. They might need additional one-on-one support to help them be integrated into that program. And then maybe they need additional equipment to successfully participate in that program. So the costs start to climb quite fast just to get into the door and experience that program. So we do offer rec access to our City of Barrie residents, and we do try and work with additional third-party funding organizations to ensure that everyone can get in the door, participate in a way that's going to be impactful and make a difference for what their goals are and meet their needs.
Sounds like it can be a lot of work to even get in the door sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's where what's really nice about person-centered planning is that individualized approach, understanding those barriers that each of our participants and their families might experience, working with our other recreation team members, especially if we're going through an integrated approach, you know, with what the program requirements are, and we start to build that picture for that individual and their family of what recreation for them is going to look like, so that we can best meet their needs, whether that's also being able to navigate that financial side, and as well as the actual recreation opportunity itself.
So what's the value or the impact of accessible recreation from your perspective?
Honestly, it's that health and wellness aspect of it. Like I said, my educational background has been that of nursing, and I did work in community services for a little bit, and I really got to see what living in your community with or without access to recreation does. And when we look at the social determinants of health, like social inclusion, access to basic amenities within your community, those have way more long-term influences on our health than maybe, say, just going to the hospital or seeing a nurse or a doctor for a small snippet of time does for somebody. The ability to play and engage in your community and in programs that bring you joy has such a farther reaching impact on that individual and their health. And I can say that that's why I do what I do.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, thank you so much, Megan. Where can people go to learn more about inclusion services of the City of Barrie? Barrie.ca.
You can even search inclusive recreation. It'll bring you to our page that outlines all the services that we have, as well as our registration platform, as well as connected there, play.barrie.ca.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming in. It was great to speak with you.
Nice speaking with you as well.
Elmvale.He personal injury lawyers are proud sponsors of Underestimated. If you need a personal injury lawyer, we can help. For more information, please visit Elmvale.com.
Do you have something to share? Let everyone know about your next meeting, your need for volunteers, or your fundraising event on the Rogers TV Community Billboard. Send us your words and we'll bring them to life on Rogers TV and RogersTV.com. When it's time to spread the word, go to RogersTV.com to add your announcement to the Community Billboard.
What kind of show do you want to see on Rogers TV? What interests you? Log on to rogerstv.com, fill out a show proposal, and tell us about your segment idea. We want to know what you want to see. Rogers TV, only on Rogers.
We're very excited to welcome Paralympian Rod Crane to the show. He is a 3-time world silver medalist in para ice hockey. Welcome, Rod.
Thank you for having me.
To start, can you tell us about yourself and your journey to this point?
Yes, of course. I'm 31 years old. I had a spinal cord injury when I was 18. Started playing para ice hockey 4 years later, and now I represent my country at the highest stage.
Wow, that's an impressive progression.
Thank you.
So how did you get back into recreation those 4 years between your injury and when you first played para ice hockey?
There was a lot of help from local organizing committees for sure. I was introduced to para ice hockey when I was in a rehab setting. I tried it with a bunch of my friends in a gymnasium and knew that was something that I wanted to try and wanted to get into. And then I had to go to post-secondary school and do all that kind of stuff before I could really dive into the sport.
So how did you go from trying it in the gym to being on the ice the first time?
I reached out to my caseworker, Heather Hollinshead. She's kind of the mastermind behind my whole journey through recreation. She reached out to a friend of hers who runs the Elmvale.He, the local sledge hockey team there. So she introduced us both, and now I'm the 5th Paralympian out of that program.
That's amazing. Wow, credit to that program. I mean, to all the hard work of everybody playing on the team, but that's an impressive track record.
Yeah, it's a little quiet community, but they can play.
So what did it mean to you when you found that club to join?
It was an incredible thing. For years I couldn't explain it, but it really just gave me a sense of normality again. I grew up playing hockey. Hockey was my life up until my injury. So be able to rediscover it in a different way, but still, it's basically still the same game. So the passion was still there, the love was still there, the competitiveness was still there. So be able to get back into it just really gave me a sense of normality at a time when I wasn't sure I'd ever see that again.
And what does it mean to you now?
It means a lot to me now. It's something I'm very proud of. Just to be able to represent my country at a high level on the world stage. It's hard to put into words, but it's a very large sense of pride for me, my family, and my friends.
Yeah, for sure. Well, maybe you can take us through that. What was it like? I certainly have never experienced that. I would imagine many people watching haven't. What does it feel like when you're representing your country?
It's you got to deal with some nerves for sure, but once you get settled in, you know you have the support of your people who are close to you, as well as all other Canadians who are watching, right? So regardless of the outcome, just the effort put forward, you have the support of a whole country, which is really something special.
Yeah, I can't imagine. That's incredible. Like the support of family and friends is super important. The support of a whole country, it must be something else.
Yes, it certainly is. We just had a World Championships in Moose Jaw, and to have an arena full of Canadians watching a Canadian game, it's very special, and it gives you goosebumps. It gives me goosebumps right now thinking about it, but it's really incredible.
What's the noise like?
It's loud. You can barely hear yourself speak, but it's great.
Like a happy noise?
Yes.
A happy roar?
Yes.
Well, this is the opposite of a happy roar, but what were the biggest barriers what were the barriers for you when you were right after your injury, kind of getting back into regular life? What kept you from getting back involved in sport and recreation at that time? I
think the biggest barrier for me was awareness. When I was out of my rehab setting, I was in post-secondary school. I was in the region I was in. I had a difficult time reaching out to the organizing committee to get started. So that was my biggest barrier, was just awareness and kind of where can I start and where can I get into a sled.
So are there lots of opportunities for people to give it a try if they've never tried sled hockey before?
Yeah, the opportunities are becoming more prevalent for sure. When we travel as a team for our training camps, so we do all in the different locations, we always like to do a community outreach, whether it's skating with the local sledge program, going to schools and talking to kids about it, or a tried event where sometimes places we go to train, they have a large amount of sleds and people could just come in and try them.
What do the kids think of it when you go into schools?
The kids love it. The kids love seeing us. They love seeing the sport. They love seeing people who represent Canada.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, everybody loves that.
Mm-hmm.
So you brought some stuff in to show us. Can you
Yes.
tell us about it? What did you bring in?
All right. We'll start with the sled. This is basically my skates. I sit in that. That's basically my skate boot. It helps me get around on the ice. I have my sticks, which I use two. In sledge hockey, you use two sticks. Your blade on one end to shoot, and on the other end are metal picks to help you dig into the ice and move around. I brought two jerseys, one from the Paralympics and one from just my Hockey Canada jersey that I wear in our games, and my silver medal from the Beijing Paralympics.
I don't know if you can pick, but which is most special to you?
Wow, it's hard to say because I couldn't have got to one without the other, but it's definitely the silver medal for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to compete at a large event like that after what happened to me, I never thought Paralympics or the ability to represent my country was possible.
So what has the game given you?
It's given me a lot, for sure. It's given me a sense of normality. It's given me a sense of community. I've built bonds with people along the way that, I'm going to have those for the rest of my life. I've got incredible memories. I've been able to travel the world doing something that I love. So it's given me a lot.
What advice would you give to that 18-year-old now, looking back?
Yeah, looking back, I would say try it all. You're basically entering a new world after a spinal cord injury, learning different sports and different ways to do things. So certainly try everything. Who knows, you might represent your country on the world stage.
What gave you the confidence?
It's honestly just something I just felt right doing. It felt right doing it, but also just having the support of my family behind me the whole way. They're very proud of what I do, and I'm very proud in representing my country, but also representing my family as well.
That's awesome. So where can people go to learn more about sledge hockey?
Reach out to your local organizing committee for sure. You can reach out to Hockey Canada, or if you're in the area, Elmvale Bears.
Awesome. Thanks, Rod. It was great to have you today.
Thank you, Tory. I really appreciate it.
Elmvale.He personal injury lawyers are proud sponsors of Underestimated. If you need a personal injury lawyer, we can help. For more information, please visit Elmvale.com.
Hi, can I take your order? Hello?
Oh, hey. Wait, what was the question?
Let me guess. One driving high combo, extra baked?
No. Could I get a burger with a side of fries?
Think you're a better driver when you're high? Think again. Smoking weed affects reaction time and concentration. A message from Mad Canada.
My name's Kevin Mills. I was an advanced care paramedic in Toronto before my injury. And in 2009, I was at my sister's wedding in Cuba. and we were all in the ocean, and I was very familiar with the ocean, out swimming, and a large rogue wave, picked me up, and dumped me head first in the ocean floor. So I hit the ocean floor, and I was immediately paralyzed, and I ended up as initially a C4 quadriplegic. Full-time wheelchair user. I was initially told I could only shrug my shoulders, and then I've just gone through the whole process of activity-based therapy to get as much back as I can. It's basically a type of physiotherapy where you're moving all types of the body, but you're active, you're exercising. So we went down to Florida, my wife and I, Heather, and I did this program for months at a time, and I just got so much back that Heather brought Walk It Off back to Ontario and started Walk It Off Spinal Cord Recovery Center. And it's an activity-based therapy center where I worked out every day, and I got enough function back to start hand cycling. Maybe a year after my injury, I decided I wanted to push a half marathon in my wheelchair. So I entered the Toronto Waterfront Marathon. I had emotion wheels and a free wheel, and I went out and I came dead last by a lot. I was heading out on the lakeshore, and I'm heading out, and all the runners are coming back cheering me, and I was turn around, coming back, they're like, you're over the time limit, we're gonna have to cut it short. And the cops and the medics said, we'll keep the gardener closed and you can keep going. So I finished with my wheelchair. Then I did a bunch more, and then I wanted to get into hand cycling, like going further and faster. So I got a lie down racing hand cycle. And then I've done 24 half marathons, 6 fulls, and that was in my racing lie down bike. And then I got this unit that I use, which clips directly to my manual wheelchair and allowed me to be more independent and bike with my son, and that's how it kind of happened. I'd always wanted to bike across Canada, especially since my injury, but for me, I was like, it's not gonna happen. Like, who's gonna want to bike with me for 8 hours a day, take 4 months? Like, I can't be by myself. I need someone to give me water, food, empty my urinary bag. Like, there's so many things. And so I was biking with my friend Nikki. I call her Nikki D. And we were biking after she was done work. She worked at Walk It Off. And we kept going further and further. And then one day she's like, Nick, I've got something important to ask you. So we were on a ride. And she was kind of like, okay, so do you want to bike across Canada with me? And I was just like struck, and I honestly almost crashed into her. And we kept biking, and I was like, yes, yes, yes. And but then we're like, if we're doing this, like, how can it help other people too? Like, if we're gonna do this, I think there's an opportunity. So we started peddling possibilities and offer profit, and our idea was just to like make this trip also a vehicle to promote accessibility and help other people. For me, it's life-changing. Like, it affects me in so many ways. It mental health, physical health, like, it makes me happy. It helps with my neural pain and spasms. It gets me out there and then more functional in my other daily tasks. So it, and I think the reason I want to do this trip is I get out there and people can see me, and it creates a discussion. Like, they see someone in a wheelchair having trouble with something, and they're like, we need to improve this, we need to do that. And it also, anyone, especially with people with disabilities, I hope see me, and then they're like, I'm gonna get out there. Like, I've had a few people talk to me and they're like, yeah, I'm gonna get a bike, I'm gonna get out there, and I'm like, yeah, you need to, because it changes your life. The main team is Nikki and Candace. So Nikki's biking with me all the time, every day. So the whole ride, like, she's doing everything for me. So if I have to stop and empty my bag, give me water, food, if something happens, she's answering calls. So, and then, but then there's Candace. She's my PSW. She does like all my personal care, and then she's driving this huge RV, 37 feet. She's never driven it before, and she's a pro. Like, I'm so impressed. Like, she's such an amazing person, and then she's learned to be an RV mechanic, a wheelchair mechanic, a bike mechanic. And honestly, I couldn't do the trip without the two of them, because they're like, I'm just pedaling. And when we get back, there's not a lot I can help with except emails and stuff. And yeah, this trip would not be possible without them. This is my manual wheelchair, and I have a docking bar underneath. And my bike clips directly to the chair. So I'm a quadriplegic. So I'm, when you see it, it's a wheel out front, and I'm hand cycling. So I'm using my arms. So I have biceps and shoulders, but I don't have triceps or hand function. So this bike, I've got special hand grips where I like get my hands around it, lock my wrist in, that's how I'm holding. I pull back to brake, and then I'm cranking like this. So when they think about accessibility, they need to think about, like, they need people with disabilities to input and show, like, how wide it needs to be. And then there's even stuff like going to campgrounds, and we're like, do you have an accessible shower? And I go in and it's got a grab bar, and it's like, okay, that's not what we mean. Like, so just like having those facilities and resources to make disabled travel so much easier, because if it was easier, more people with disabilities would travel. I just want this story to reach as many people as possible. Like, this trip's for me, but it's also, I really want to help people. And whenever the public response to this trip has been amazing. Like, when we tell people about the trip, they seem genuinely happy about it. And that's what we want to do. I want to reach people, especially people with disabilities, and like let them know that stuff is possible. And if one person with a disability decides to get out and get active, this trip is so worth it. So that's what I would like, if everyone could share the story, and yeah, get outside, get active, go for a bike ride.
We hope today's episode has given you some encouragement and ideas for accessible recreation in your community. It's always a good idea to speak with your healthcare team before starting a new exercise program. I want to thank all our guests for sharing their stories and inviting us into their lives. To learn more about our show, visit rogerstv.com/underestimated or visit courtree.com. I'm Tory Bowman, and we'll see you next time.